Here at Cheesy Studios, we love Minecraft villages. The LEGO Minecraft world features substantial plains and desert villages, and even a taste of a savanna village with last episode's expansion. Even so, your comments suggest that you aren't sick of villages yet, neither am I. Today we set out to start work on yet another of these structures with a snowy village. Snowy village architecture is delightfully unique, and the snow adds another dimension to the buildings. Perhaps you've picked up on it already, but there is something about these buildings that may prove a bit more difficult to work with when compared to some of the other village variants. They're all one color, lots and lots of brown. So how can we work with the limitations of LEGO's color palette and textured bricks to make sure these don't end up looking like dirt huts when they're converted into LEGO? Well, let's take a closer look. Okay, before we can start on any buildings though, we need to make some terrain. Today's section will be a 3x1, that's 24 by 8 blocks, or 48 by 16 studs. For reference, 48 studs is the width of a large gray LEGO baseplate. I won't go too in depth on it here, as we just covered it in the last episode, but we need to lay down some village paths. I make these exactly half a plate shorter than the surrounding terrain to get that slight indentation you'd see in game. Working off grid with these is always a bit challenging, so I try to complete the paths first before laying down any of the actual terrain. Our small snowy village here will feature two intersecting paths, both of which go straight up to the borders. I should mention that this module will be in the front right corner of the display, the opposite of last episode's front left corner. Those sand green jumpers are going to be for the village's meeting area. We'll get to that soon. But before I forget, I'm going to place some dark tan jumpers in the path so we can attach villagers here later. Usually I prefer the old classic gray brick separators, but the tile removing capabilities of the modern ones do come in handy from time to time. Next, we'll lay the foundations for our first large structure of this village, the library. Like the other village structures I've made in the past, I want this one to be easily removable. It's fun to be able to take these things out and give people a closer look at them at conventions and such. This building will have plenty of room in the interior too, so we want to make sure that the fun stuff is as easy to see as possible. It continues to boggle my mind how these structures can seem so small in game, yet so large in LEGO. This is a substantial footprint for what ultimately is a very modestly sized building in game. Unfortunately, I have no Lightning McQueen tiles this time around, but let me know if you recognize this stickered 2x6. And don't worry, we'll be covering up all these unsightly colors with the base of the library itself. Around this, I have the snow piled in about the same way you'd see in the actual in-game generating structure. Next, it's almost time to tile. Thankfully, my brother found 2x2 white tiles at the LEGO store Pick-a-Brick wall, something you might want to keep an eye out for too. With that last tile placed, we can finally start on the structure of the library, which brings us back to our original problem. Everything is brown. How can we make this interesting? There's actually two brown colors that are reasonably similar to each other. Allow me to give you a brief LEGO history lesson that nobody asked for. After nearly going bankrupt in the early 2000s, LEGO decided to clean up its color palette as a part of an effort to reduce the company's out-of-control expenses. Many colors, sand red, sand purple, rest in peace, were removed altogether, but three special colors were modernized for this new era of LEGO: light gray, dark gray, and brown. So two different shades of brown exist now, regular brown being produced prior to 2004, and reddish brown from 2004 and on. An easy place to see this is in LEGO Star Wars MTTs produced during the separate color periods. The difference is relatively subtle, but subtlety is what we're going for here. We'll be using the old brown for stripped logs and the new reddish brown for spruce planks. While old brown is definitely more common than some of the other colors that we've used in this display, say sand red for example, it's still been out of production for 2 decades and can be a bit more limiting to work with. Because they're so old, they're a bit harder to find on Bricklink in any significant quantities, and also many of the small detail pieces we enjoy today, especially snot-based pieces, just were never produced in that specific color. So it ends up working quite well that I'm using reddish brown for spruce planks, which make up the slabs and stairs of the build. For glass panes, I'm using these trans clear wall panel pieces. And of course, we have to fill this beautiful spacious interior with some furniture. My favorite design here is the lectern, which one of my channel members, Cup of Hot Noodles, came up with. It's brilliant, making use of the 1x1 by 2/3 plate, brick, whatever it is, with the hole in the middle, and the relatively new minifigure action stand piece in medium nougat. This library structure has quite the nice interior. There's plenty of room, probably more so than any of the other structures I've done aside from the pillager outpost, and lots of windows to let the light in. The rest of the construction for this building is actually pretty straightforward. For the spruce planks, I'm making use of the backside of masonry bricks to add some of that texture, just like we did for oak planks in the original Plains village. I don't even have to use any crazy studs not on top techniques to make this roof come together, thanks mostly to inverted 2x2 reddish brown tiles existing, which makes sure everything is tiled off both on the top and the bottom. And speaking of tiling, there's only one thing left to do, and you know what that is. We'll be adding one more structure to this Snowy Plains Village module, and that's the meeting area, which is just a simple 3x3 canopy. This is going to use some more interesting techniques, so let's break them down. This build is a good example of how we are going to work within the limitations that the old brown color gives us. The canopy has 4 Minecraft lanterns hanging from it, and we're going to use these 3 long bars to do that. They attach to 1x2 Technic bricks in the back, since that same brick is not produced in old brown. These bars are technically spruce fences, so it's okay that they're made in reddish brown. The rest of the structure, though, is stripped logs. We'll place some snow on top of this, add fences underneath to support the structure. Those are a mix of reddish brown with dark brown 1x1 round plates or pips, and then of course we need to attach the classic Minecraft bell underneath. It's the same design used in the village raid set from a few years ago. We'll attach these spruce fence pieces, making use of 1x1 snot bricks, to those bars from earlier, and then the lanterns can simply hang on the bottom of these. Technically, there are anti-studs visible on the bottom of that 6x6 old brown plate, and again, I challenge you to come up with a design that makes it smooth all the way around. I'm sure there is a solution, and I'm sure one of you can think of it. This is going to attach to those 2 sand blue jumpers from earlier. It's going to hang off a little bit, but that just means we need to make another module. Let's populate this module with some mobs and characters, like this dark orange horse from the Red Barn set, and player skin from the Skull Arena, and then 2 snowy villagers from the Bakery set last year. With those, that completes our first module for this snowy village. It's my goal to double the size of this village at some point with another 1x3 module, and I think you'll like what I have in mind for the structures that we'll find there. This whole village will be at the foot of a giant mountain, something else that has been highly requested, and I promise that it is going to happen here at one point, but that might be down the road just a ways. The next episode is going to be quite special, as you're basically getting 2 modules for the price of 1. That's going to be the combination of a ravine and a flower forest. If you want to watch the episode early, all you have to do is become a channel member. Details about that are in the video description. But that's all for this episode. Have yourself a great life, and I'll see you in the next one.